Okay, here we go. Good morning. This is Norma Cowie here for Wednesday. It's Norma Talks. Today, we're going to explore the number 5 symbols in the tarot. Now, I want you to think of something about the number 5. Number 5 is like my fingers going in 5 different directions. Well, my thumb as well, of course. It is a busy number. And we see often people who have a birth path, excuse me, of number 5, they have a life that kind of starts things and then they'll start something else. And then they'll start something else. I got a frog in my throat, and that's annoying. And so that is also projected into the symbology that we'll look at in a moment. The key with number 5 is really about where you're going and where you're learning. So I'm just going to start my share screen here, and this time, trustingly, we'll get it up so you can see all the things that you're needing to see. There you go. I did do quite well on the left side of the symbols down here, and not so well on the right. I'm working at expanding the picture then when I'm editing the editing the picture up. Now, what I want you to be aware of, if you look at the bottom part here, these are the lower arcana symbols of the number 5s. 5 of Wands, and as we know, Wands are thinking. 5 of Cups, which is the emotions. 5 of Swords are the problems and challenges. 5 of Pentacles is your material world. So let's take a look at each one of these, because the symbol brings about a sense of conflict. Now, number 5 of Wands. Look at the ideas, but you know, one of the things I found fascinating is on the left side, looking at the picture, there's this man holding with one hand. Now, that means the idea maybe isn't as strong if you have 2 hands. And it's sort of sitting out here by itself, but also he's got the cloth around his third eye here, showing he has some knowledge. But the rest of the other 4, which if you remember from the 4 of Wands, was celebration of achieving the goal that you're wanting. And this so often happens. You really are going in on a goal like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you come, that's achieved. Now what? Everything gets a little confusing. So this is where your mind goes into 20 different directions, trying to sort something out. Also, it can be squabbling with others too. That can also happen. But it's really the internal fight that goes on mentally. Now, in the 5 of Cups, I've always find this symbol comes up for people a lot. 3 cups, which again, in the number 3, we were celebrating. What it shows, they're fallen over now. Nothing remains the same. We know that in life. It's sometimes difficult to accept, and we never ever want to think of something shifting or changing, but it does. And so the man here grieving because he's in a long black cloak, looking at the river of life's behind him. There is a bridge, the only symbol that has a bridge across the river of life to the castle. But what does he have to do? He has to turn around and look at what else is presenting to him. And this is where we learn how to let go of those things that make us sad, things that we have lost, relationships, money, circumstances, society change, which we're going through a lot of that now. All of that sometimes can really, really affect us. And there we are crying over what it is, but we're not looking at where we can go. And so the key here would be to accept. Good old the word acceptance keeps coming up. Accept, turn around and see what actually is there that will take you to where you want to end up. So emotionally, it's about letting go. Then we go to the 5 of Swords. Swords are problems and challenges. Now, if you were to follow 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5, in 4, he's lying in state, coming to deal with his sorrows of that and putting it in order. But here, what's happening? First of all, he's got 3 swords that he's holding onto and he's fighting. Obviously, there's been a fight. I need to mention that. Obviously, there's been a fight here. The swordsman he's holding 2, because the 2 is really important in this whole thing, because in the beginning of the 2 of Swords, the man is not wanting to see at all. He's holding two, but now he's got the third one, which was disappointment. But on the sands here, two more swords are laying down, but two people are walking away. One's crying, I think, and one's just sad. The sky is streaked. And so when we've had a fight with friends or with other people, again, society fights, we feel that we've won. Look at us, look at it. But did we really win? Two people are crying and upset, walking away. You're left now with 5. Remember the big number of 5 problems. 3 you're holding on to for sure, but there's 2 more that are down there. And those still are coming into your vibration, into your awareness, into everything. So in a way, what you've done is created more hassle for yourself, which is typical 5s, because to learn and know what to let go of, what to encourage, what to be working with is always very, very important. And then when we look at the 5 of Pentacles, meaning the material affairs of life, here, this beautiful church window showing the 5 Pentacles radiating. But what have we got here? We've got a beggar and excuse the expression, but a handicapped person. I better be politically correct. Walking along in the snow. So it's like out in the cold. It is snowing around the window. Now, when life, and it can go back to the cup, 5 of Cups, when you're grieving, it feels like nothing's working. You're out, we call this out, and I coined the phrase with this 5 of Pentacles is out in the cold. When things aren't working and you feel that you're out, that here you are walking in the snow, barefooted, no hope, nowhere, and it really means you have to take a different look. You have to look at where you're at. Now, if you follow thoughts create, emotion gives it energy, we need to deal with what we need to deal with, then we don't need to be out in the snow. And unfortunately, many times we end up. But the answer lies in the Higher Arcana cards. The Higher Arcana is your spiritual journey. I love walking the whole journey of what we go through as we expand spiritually. When we look at the Hierophant, there's 2 parts in this particular symbol. What I did with this one is give it the key guidance is needed. So where do we go for the guidance? This is the teacher. This is the person that has the awareness. He's got a triple crown with a W, which shows up in the ace, number 1, Ace of Cups, the W. And it's representative of the union between the spiritual and the material worlds. The way he has his hands is a benediction. There's a lot of sort of Christian, you might call symbology there, but you've still got to look at what it really is saying. In front of him are what we call 2 prelates. Remember in the number 1, the magician, he had the roses and lilies. Here that roses and lilies are represented on these, I call them prelates, but people who are learning from the main guy up here. They have a big Y on their back, but their cloaks are the roses of aspiration and lilies of pure thought. They are aspiring for these keys that are underneath the feet of the Hierophant. Another word would be the spiritual leader. The spiritual leader is giving information to these prelates, to these people here that are asking and seeking the knowledge of the keys of life. And it's like when we look at the lower arcana cards, we're engrossed in some form of issue with life. And so we need to learn how to aspire to get the answers that we need in order to deal with these. So there is a form of becoming aware of the greater power. Now, it's just 2 symbols ago in number 3 in the Empress, we're learning about the love force. And then, of course, what happens, unless we keep working with that love force, we become like the Emperor. We become tough. And that produces a lot of this 5 stuff that's down here in the lower arcana. So we can get this knowledge, but then what do we do with it? Number 14, which is 4 and 1 of 5. Here's my throat again, excuse me. For what it shows here is temperance. It's all about balance. When you have knowledge, how do you balance it? And this symbol does not show that you are there yet, but it does show that the emotionality, and if you look at both the the cups and the swords, there's a lot of water. Water also represents emotion. He's got his feet very well balanced on the earth and the water here. So there's a balance with the emotionality. The pathway leads from the water, through the hills, and a little broken up, to the sun here, representing like a crown. This is the goal. But what I really enjoy here, besides the blending of all these aspects here, is on his chest, he's got a square, which is a foundation. Then he's got the Trinity, which is representing the spiritual element. And also his sun is lit up. Now, this is like an archangel, creating balance in the direction of where you're going. The iris is over here, again, representing thought. There is always a little bit of a fight in our planet between the power of the mind and the actual emotions which this planet, as far as I'm concerned, represents. But what this 5 is about knowledge being applied to the world. And that's your spiritual knowledge, your philosophical knowledge, the awareness of how you yourself work. The majority of us, we're all the same. Isn't that hard to believe? But we are the same. But what we do with it is what's important. Does it bring peace and tranquility inside, how we think and feel? Does it have all those elements working for us? And so the goal here would be to take our knowledge and work it like the temperance symbol, which is the energy of that 5 going in all sorts of directions, corralled. And in the corralling of it, we can work towards to achieve our goals. If we're going to act and be like any of the lower arcanas, no, it means we've got more work to do. And yes, we get sad at times. And yes, we have ideas in our head and conflict. And yes, we feel sometimes life is really tough. But, it's all about being able to aspire to know that how to work, how to interrelate with the greater power, which I call the law of love. The love essence, the love force, the love beingness, to me, that is really important. So I'm just going to stop the share here and come back to here. Number 5's taught me a lot about how we react. And most of my learning has come through myself, because I had to get a handle on many, many things. And knowing that the energy that you put out, and knowing and looking at what your philosophy is. Sometimes when I'm doing transformational work, it comes up the person's basic philosophy or spirituality is not effective in their lives. What is it you really believe? Often that's taught when we're young. Because I had this tremendous urge to figure out who God was, because I went to Sunday school when I was quite young. Didn't last long, actually, because I was busy with sports and other things. But my own curiosity of how this worked and came together. And then when you believe in a higher power of some form that works with you, my pathway was brought to me. I was in the right place at the right time to learn, to understand, made commitments to take courses, became aware of how certain things work. And that's the temperance path. Not always did it. Some of the learning I had that I didn't really use a tremendous amount, but it added to the pot of knowledge that is down there that sometimes, oh yeah, right, we can use this tool. I was a tool person. That's why I've used the tarot for all these years. I like what we can get from our tools. Someone told me once that I was one person they knew that had a huge toolbox, meaning If I wanted to dig out a piece of information, I could. If I needed to have some numerology, if I needed to have this or that, or an exercise of how to do something. And I probably have forgotten a lot of things, but every now and again it comes to my mind. It's like it's put in there, I have a lot of support. And so it brings us to the point of, what is your basic belief about life? What's your philosophy? Do you believe that no matter what, you will achieve and get to where you want to go? Or do you feel that you're doomed before you start? That can happen. That can happen. And we'll see that a little bit when we look at number 6 next week. I want you to be aware that you have the ability to have a choice. You can choose to be messed up. You can choose to be confused. You can choose to be upset. You can choose to be, fighting the fight in a way where we're upsetting other people. And you can choose. And I have to tell you a little story about this 5 of Pentacles. Because it's when I had to go bankrupt. And I say go to because my accountant sat me down. But I'm going to tell you how sometimes things work on a bigger plan that affects you. We all remember 9/11, right? Well, 9/11, I was leaving on a trip to go to Chicago to speak at a tarot conference. Of course, all planes were canceled, so that trip didn't go. But besides that, I had planned for 2-3 months to travel doing some workshops. I had airfares all paid for. I had plans to be in this city and that city and the other city, all paid for. Guess how? Plastic. Then the world stopped. The world stopped for 2 months. I know I made one of the trips to San Francisco to a conference I was going to attend, and everybody was petrified. They were scared to get on an airplane. They were scared all over the place. But the results to me, a little Canadian that was just going out to attend a couple of conferences, do some workshops, very easily handled all the way along. I had debt that I couldn't cover because I hadn't been building in my own backyard. I'd been building more extensively. And my accountant put me aside, sat me down, and he said, Norma, your best bet here is just to declare bankruptcy. Well, I didn't want to do that. Oh my goodness, no. And he sat me down and explained to me and some other, and then I went through that process. But again, as I have said before, I was told many, many years ago at the tender age of 22, you'll be able to be a good reader because of your life's experiences. And this was one of the experiences, which is that 5 of Pentacles. I had to start from scratch. But miracles occurred. Miracles occurred right after that, where all my life took another turn, changed, opportunities came up, which I said yes to. And within a very few months, I was back coping, dealing, and also helping some other people as well. So, and life started again by accepting the reality which I was being faced with, which I hadn't in a way created myself. It was circumstances, and that happens to us. And we can choose to be out in the cold like that 5 of Pentacles, and we can just know through the idea of what the Hierophant teaches us, that there is awareness. And if you listen, if you follow the signs, you will be looked after. This way, at the beginning, you might say that whole thing from the 5 of Pentacles to today began a new beginning in my life, a new awareness in my life. And from that came such a staunch belief in this planet. From that became an awareness that, just as temperance does, the movement forward to the direction of where you feel that everything is flowing and working. Has it all been easy at times? No. But it's the knowingness, it's the path. This is my path, obviously, has been to learn, to come to understand, and then impart, which is one reason when I got the direction to begin doing this talk, and since then added 2 other little talks or 2 other actions, because Monday's not talk kind of comes into it, but mostly we're doing mental mind treatments. Life has so many possibilities, but not to be like the 5 of cups where you literally feel that's the end of the road. I've learned that that's not true. Turn around, there's something else being offered. Be open for whatever's coming, and then get back into balance using your philosophy, your beliefs. Begin to adjust that subconscious down there that sort of says, oh, I'm no good, it's not going to work, why am I doing this? All of that gets cleared up. And you can move forward in such a wonderful, wonderful way to achieve that inner peace, which I think we all work with. So that's what I've got to say about 5s. I do just want to say one more thing. This on the 15th, I am offering a 2-hour workshop through Zoom on connecting to your love source, and so that you can reconnect with that. And if you're interested, please contact me, email me, text me, whatever. You can always contact me through the website, normacowie.com. Hopefully you can sign up for the newsletter, because the newsletter goes out once a month, and April's dead, so already gone, and May is coming around the corner. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. All of that. Subscriptions went up again a little bit this last month. I appreciate each and every one of you who have come on board. And I look forward to talking to you again on Sunday morning with Sunday Thought, and Monday night with mental mind treatments. Many blessings to each one of you. Thank you, and have a good day.